Welcome to the Headley Highlight Show's Headley Headspaces. And this headspace is called McSweeney Thrown to the Wolves. And Starmer is going, gone. So before I jump into my headspace, which is called McSweeney Thrown to the Wolves, and Starmer is going, gone, I want to thank everyone who's listened, liked, commented, and giving me words of advice in my headspaces. Thank you for that. Thank you for keeping your eyes out for me also. Don't forget to click the bell notification and select all so you get all of my uploads. Please do leave a donation, as I am very partial to 3 Wings and Chips and a Miranda and a bit of Bitcoin despite the fall in the price. Now's the time to buy. So I'm rather pleased with myself because I'm ahead of the game this week. Small steps to progress. I'm sure I mentioned that in my uplifting corner. But stop rambling, Denise, and get to the point. So, this headspace is called McSweeney Thrown to the Wolves. Starmer is going, gone. Now, for those individuals who are not familiar with what's happening at the moment in the British political system, I'm just going to give you a very, very quick 30-second context so I can pin this onto it. So, what's happened is the Epstein file release, the 3 million emails that were dumped, minus 300,000 that were missing. Don't forget that little important point. Some things are still being withheld. They revealed very clear relationships, strong links between the sacked ambassador to the UK, who was Peter Mandelson. Now, what happened was when those emails became in the public domain, he resigned. It was shown that he had passed sensitive information to Mr. Epstein while he was a cabinet minister, which, as far as I was concerned, he should be investigated under the Official Secrets Act as opposed to misconduct in public office, which is the reason he left. We can talk about that afterwards, but essentially the burden of proof is quite difficult. However, for the latter, what happened was he resigned his position because of his links to Jeffrey Epstein, and his protege in the Labour Party is Mr. Starmer's chief of staff, Ian McSweeney. Now, what happened over the weekend was that Mr. Starmer came under increasing pressure to effectively resign because he admitted in the comments that he was aware that the security services had given him information that Mr. Mandelson still maintained a friendship with Mr. Epstein even after he was convicted for child prostitution, and that connection alone should have given him the reason not to give him the job. This issue went straight to Mr. Starmer's judgment, and it was clear that his statement in the comments, and then he tried to suppress information that was coming out about the release of information. So he was looking covered in muck in the whole exercise. And as a consequence of that, he came in under immense political pressure over the weekend to resign. And then what happened? His chief of staff resigned. So what he did was he sacrificed his chief of staff to buy him some more time. Hence, the name of my headspace was McSweeney was thrown to the wolves. So he was a sacrificial lamb. Not that he should be pitied, because he has been a underminer of what I would call authentic labour for some time. In addition, Mr. Starmer's chief of communications also resigned. Tim Allen was only 5 months in the post, and the domino effect of senior politicians basically falling like 9 pegs was a sign that Starmer was in office, but he wasn't in power. So what did he do? He threw McSweeney to the wolves to save himself, because there had to be a scout. And what happened? McSweeney admitted that on the advice that he was given, and after expressing an opinion, he was appointed. He gave himself a little bit of an out. So this is a circumstance that Mr. Starmer now finds himself in. And my second kind of title in the headspace was Starmer is going, gone. And I think Mr. Starmer is a person who has got very little time left in the role. The curse of Epstein and the poor judgment he demonstrated by appointing a close friend of Mr. Epstein goes to the heart of Mr. Starmer's competence as a leader. And I think that is the fundamental question that people are now looking at. Because of the information that's coming into the public space from this email dump, most ordinary people find this information incredulous. And to see just how much our British establishment is interwoven into this political circle of networks, spheres of power influence in all walks of life, money, entertainment, education, the military, insurance, has shaken, I think, most people's whatever shred of belief they had left about the value and the importance of our government, because we can see that it's not independent and it's basically been captured. And this network is like mycelium. It touches everything and everyone. And that's why Mr. Starmer is in so much political peril at this point. There are some significant areas that he needs to be seen to be performing in if he's going to stay in his job, because I don't think he's going to last. I actually thought he would be gone by last Sunday's scrambled eggs on toast, but he made it because he threw Mr. McSweeney under the bus. He only bought himself a little bit of time because he was going to be gone by the weekend, but nobody wants the job at the moment is one of the key issues. And in addition to that, there are no clear contenders to replace him. So let me come to the question of why he's not going to go straight away. Number one, nobody wants to be tagged as a loser. On Thursday, the 26th of February, there's going to be a by-election in Greater Manchester in the constituency of Gaunton and Denton. The outgoing MP, the Labour MP, interestingly, is retired on medical grounds, but that was after he was found to have sent offensive WhatsApp messages. And only a week ago, or possibly 2 weeks ago, Mr. Starmer sat on the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party and blocked the Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham, from standing in that very same seat in the by-election. How a week or even 2 weeks is a very long time in politics. So there's a really strong likelihood that Mr. Starmer's candidate is going to lose there. Possibly she had the hand of Mandelson in picking her, because that's also part of an issue. Mr. Mandelson was effectively in government and he was working very much with Mr. McSweeney to the extent where he was picking which MPs could have what positions in the last reshuffle and who could stand in the election. So trying to detangle from the mycelium web of Mr. Mandelson within the senior parts of the Labour Party and everywhere else is almost impossible right now. So back to the by-election in Gaunton and Denton. The Labour Party is likely to lose very badly. Reform are clipping at the heels, Nigel Farage's party. And the Green Party is making a slight ascendancy because they are basically the new version of Labour, but slightly younger and a little more green. So when this election result takes place, Mr. Starmer, because he faced a backbench revolt when he tried to suppress the information from his own side, he's tried to suppress the information that was going to be circulated about what he knew and when with Mr. Mandelson's appointment. When those election results come in, every member of the Labour Party is going to do the maths. And given that Mr. Starmer's approval rating, I think, is 11%, they can see their majorities disappearing almost as quickly as the police investigation into any wrongdoing within the establishment. The second test for Mr. Starmer's failure, and the reason why nobody wants to pick up the gauntlet at the moment, is because there is, straight after that, the May local elections. Let's not forget, I think it's 26 local authorities have had their democracy suspended because they won't be having elections because they are moving through an amalgamation, many of them. So democracy is delayed. Effectively, those constituencies where there are no local elections will not be able to give the Labour Party a bloody nose because there will be no mandate there. However, everywhere else where the Labour Party is standing, they are likely to receive an absolute battering in the polls. Those two things will take place, and if Mr. Starmer is still in post when that does happen, if he makes it past February and then gets to May, after that, he will be removed. And the cloak of Epstein, along with his political lack of judgment, preoccupation with external events, namely Project Ukraine, and not Project UK, Britain, and the cost of living crisis and the economy needing really significant work. Taxes are going up. He's not about for any of that. So at that point, he will be removed. But the reason he wasn't removed this weekend and McSweeney was thrown to the wolves is because there's no clear contender. Apart from the fact that no one wants to pick up the poison chalice yet, there isn't a clear contender, because the two individuals who are seen to be most likely to take over for Mr. Starmer is Angela Rayner, who has an outstanding issue with the tax office and was recently sacked from the cabinet. She was housing secretary and also deputy prime minister, but forgot to pay her taxes on stamp duty. And then Andy Burnham, who was blocked by Starmer himself only 2 weeks ago on the NEC, where Mr. Starmer sat and blocked him. So neither of the two people who are seen to be able to revive the fortunes of the Labour Party will be currently available, so maybe they can organise their affairs by May. In the mycelium connections surrounding Keir Starmer and Mr. Morgan McSweeney, another contender, West Streeting, has also been ensnared in this whole network of nepotism and unofficial relationships, which are far more important than what takes place in the public space and gets recorded in Hansard. He was seen as a contender, and his work with the NHS, I'm sure, is spearheading Palantir as we speak. But because the toxicity of the structure around Jeffrey Epstein, or this thing we call Jeffrey Epstein, this thing was way bigger than him. It was a structure. It was a network. Yeah. And we've called it, the face we've put on it is Epstein. But because of these things, he suddenly has released the fact that he had some form of contact with Mr. Mandelson, and that he was, they were some text messages that were released, and essentially he wants to not be seen as the person who's wielding the knife, because as they say, the person who wields the knife never wears the crown, hashtag Michael Heseltine, because he wants to have the opportunity to become the leader of the Labour Party. So all of these things are combining to put Keir Starmer into the position of going, gone. It's just a case of when is he going and when will he be gone? Is it at the end of this week? It certainly wasn't on Sunday, by the time you boiled your egg and, took the top off and dunked a small bit of toast into that very warm yolk. But what about possibly next Sunday? Or it might happen at the end of February, maybe on the 28th of February, when people realize that things are so dire, they're going to be looking at a wipeout in the local elections. Who knows? But what I think is essentially so important is this relationship at the heart of the British establishment, which has destroyed his premiership. He had a massive majority with the support of the Boundary Commission and all that money from, his favourite group of lobbyists. His legacy will be the most unpopular Prime Minister in the history of Britain, but also the Prime Minister who engaged the friend of a child sex trafficker into the heart of government after that individual was sacked twice from government for malfeasance. What we can be assured is that more information is going to be come into the public domain as more of those emails start to be examined and looked at. Keir Starmer is a deeply unpopular figure. So are several members of his cabinet. All of them are tainted with the skin and the mycelium connections of Mandelson. How can they even be seen as credible anymore? Keir Starmer's government has a sense or an air of moral bankruptcy because of the decadence and the debauchery of the activities of this very elite group. They're linked to that through Mandelson, and it's infected the whole of the government. We need a public inquiry. We're not going to get one, but we certainly need one. And this is the reason why I don't think Keir Starmer's going to last. I think as more information comes out, he's going to look worse and worse. His judgment is going to look worse and worse. And despite the fact that he went around today and he did a tour, and apparently he wanted to do some address to the nation, but that got scrapped. So he did an event with lots of bunting and union flags talking about how much he loves his country, you know, patriotism, the last bastion of the scoundrel, essentially, how much he loves the UK. Nobody was buying that anyway. I just was in a fits of laughter because I was listening to Keir Starmer. This is a man desperate. Desperate to connect. And you just can't.
Thank you very much, and thanks for giving up your time this afternoon so I can have a chat with you. It's been a busy week, and therefore it's very nice to be here with you, and I'm really looking forward. I think I'm going to come round from table to table.
So Keir Starmer has now gone back in his campaign white shirt, taken off his tie, and he's speaking once again. His sleeves are rolled up and his forearms are exposed. So comforting to the nation.
To talk to you because I wanted to have the opportunity to say that I know that whatever's going on in the world, and it's volatile out there in the world at the moment, and whatever's going in the turmoil of politics, there's been quite a lot of that going on in the last few days. I know that for you and for millions of people, what matters most is the cost of living. Actually paying the bills, getting through, improving living standards, public services that work. These are the things that matter hugely for people. They're the things that we were charged with changing when we won the election. And I know that's what matters most from personal experience. When I was growing up, we didn't have enough money to pay our bills. And I know what it feels like to sit around the kitchen table.
Here we go.
Worrying about the fact that you can't make ends meet. And that's what people are doing across the country.
My dad was a municipal worker.
And our job is to change that.
I'm linked with you.
But I also know it's the most important issue that we must focus on, because I know what I'm fighting for and who I'm fighting for. I've got the most working class cabinet in the history of this country, sitting around my cabinet table. And I'm really proud of that. Really proud of what they bring to the table. Their personal journeys to get there. Their experiences. But it is utter nonsense to suggest that that means everybody gets a fair chance in life. Utter nonsense. I feel very strongly about this. I'm in that cabinet as Prime Minister, having come from a working class background, to be Prime Minister of this country. But that's the exception. That is not the rule. Even within my own family. My brother, who died last year, he had difficulties learning when he was growing up. He spent his adult life wandering from job to job in virtual poverty. This system, this political system, didn't work for him. And there are millions of people in the same boat. Children in poverty, young people who don't get the opportunities they deserve, millions of people held back because of a system that doesn't work for them, who are not given the dignity, the respect, the chance that they deserve. And I'm fighting for them.
The whole theme of this exercise is to reposition the conversation around Starmer. And this is what this whole speech is about. He knows that he's going, gone. But he then tries to give people the impression that I'm here for the whole of you. And suddenly the cost of living crisis is an issue. Suddenly he remembers that people are finding it difficult in rural areas to get on a bus because all of his chums in the mycelium network of Mandelson have got all the bus contracts.
For them. I am their Prime Minister. And this is their government. And I will never give up on that fight. There are some people in recent days who say the Labour government should have a different fight, a fight with itself, instead of a fight for the millions of people who need us to fight for them. And I say to them, I will never walk away from the mandate I was given to change this country. I will never walk away from the people that I'm charged with fighting for. And I will never walk away from the country that I love.
The Prime Minister saying he won't walk away. But then again, he might be pushed away. Keir Starmer is going, gone. And Morgan McSweeney is being savaged by the wolves. Don't forget to make a donation at deniseheadley.com. I hope you liked it. I'm moving different in 2026, people. Don't forget to click the bell notification and click the all option, and you get all the uploads. See you next week, darlings, and cut.